Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody.
Siejemy, pomnażamy, jednoczymy. Fundacja Służąc Życiu.
I'm thrilled to talk to you in this wonderful atmosphere, this wonderful temperature. In winter, it's so cold sometimes, right? It's so pleasant to have it warm and nice. So thanks for coming. In spite of having heard me this morning, you still came this afternoon again. I feel very honored by that. I'm going to speak about a topic I speak often on. So if you've been to my workshop here last year, it will be the very same stuff, the same thing. I've been teaching about that for the last 10 years because I found it super important and super effective. And I call that taking care for your inner garden. The thing is, what I spoke about it this morning, making decisions, actually attacking your enemy, what I found the first thing where rubber hits the road, where it becomes difficult, is your personal spiritual life, right? Because here at the conference it's so easy, you have to worship, you have the groups, but Monday is coming, right? Next Monday is coming, or latest after vacation time, Monday is coming. And you have your 40 hours of working or university, you have your 8 hours of sleeping. How can you live a spiritual life in these circumstances? I'm going to speak about that for something like half an hour. And then I'll open up for question and answer. So you can just attack me with your questions on whatever. So some years ago, I stumbled across a Bible verse that fascinated me. It caught my attention. It's not so famous, it's out of the book of Kings, and it speaks about Solomon. And Solomon, the son of David, he was very famous, he was very rich, he was very wise. Therefore, he attracted tourists. People would travel to his place to learn from his wisdom. And there was one lady, she came from Sheba, this is in Africa, the queen of Sheba. She said, I've heard already a lot about your wisdom back home, but now I've come to see you with my own eyes. And now I have it here in French, for those of you following in French, what she's saying. She said, I couldn't believe what I heard about you before I now came and saw with my own eyes. And what I saw is that actually you are more wonderful than what people say about you. She said, you know, everybody talks about how wise you are, but now I came and I saw you're even wiser than what is your reputation, right? What she says is, your reality is greater than your reputation. And I would translate that, your inside is greater than your outside. And I love that fact. So if you think about your own inside and your own outside, this is a circle. So your outside is your Instagram profile. Your outside is your CV. Your outside is what people know about you. Your outside is the way you look, right? It's wonderful to have a good resume, to be good looking, to be famous. Nothing bad about that. But what Queen of Sheba says, I have come to know your inside, how you really are, and this is even more impressive than your outward reality. So, you have an inward reality that human beings normally don't see. See? There are people who look great on the outside, they are good looking, they're successful, but their heart is dead. They are depressed, they don't want to live anymore. And there are even Christians, there are people who are, so to say, successful Christians. They might be priests or they might be evangelists and doing great things, but in their deepest heart, their relationship with God is dry and dead. And I personally, I would love to be like Solomon, because what she says is your inner reality. How only your friends know, how only people know you who see you from face to face. Your inward reality is greater than your outside reality. If you want to live like that, you have chosen the right workshop. Because this is what it's about. So I do a lot, I travel, I have conferences and stuff. And sometimes people are tricked by that. They believe, all right, you look great from the outside. But I oftentimes ask myself, is my inside still matching up? Is my love relationship with God, is it more alive today than it was 1 year ago? And if not, I need to take care for my heart, because this is the most important, the most precious part of your life. Is that what nobody sees? And this is what you cultivate with a personal prayer life. It's interesting, Jesus speaks about the same dimension with the inside, and he refers to the inside of the human heart as a soil. You know all this famous parable of those 4 different parts of types of soil. He says if God plants something in your heart, it depends on the soil whether the seed will eventually bear fruit. Right? So it's like God's responsibility is to put in the seed, but your responsibility is to prepare the soil. Right? It's this very famous verse, and there is one of those 4 soils where he says there are some soils that are full of thorns, and the thorns grow up and they choke the good seed so it doesn't bear fruit. And it's very shocking to see what Jesus says, what the thorns are. You could imagine the thorns that are big sins, or falling away from faith. But then Jesus says, the sins is les soucis, les richesses et les plaisirs de la vie. So, it's the sorrows of life, the riches, it's money, and it's fun. It's the fun parts of life. Well, all those things are positive. It's positive to have fun in life. It's positive to have money, and it's at least normal to have sorrows, right? It's normal to care for everyday affairs. But what Jesus says is, if you don't take care for your inner soil, this stuff will grow. See, what I've learned since we have a garden, my wife and I, we have a garden, is if you have a garden, there is stuff that grows by alone. Right? It just grows by itself. For example, weeds. You don't have to plant thorns or weeds. It just grows. If you leave a piece of land just for it to do whatever it wants, there is stuff growing, but not necessarily the stuff you want to grow. Right? It's not. You do nothing with the soil, and one day you come and harvest all the peaches and all the lilies and all the cherries. This is not going to happen, right? You have the thorns, you have the weeds. This is what grows. And this is the same in your inner life. If you don't do anything against it, it's the normal sorrows of life. It's the normal affairs that work, that grow, and that will choke what God has planted inside of you. So, I don't want to live like that. So the question is, what is the opposite? What can we do? What is your inside? What's going on there? When God first created man, Adam and Eve, it's very interesting, he put them in a garden. And the garden he gave to Adam and Eve to take care for that garden. It's very remarkable. It's interesting. And this garden basically was a beautiful place, but it was Adam and Eve's responsibility to take care of it. So, I love this garden. Even I called my latest book Eden Culture, because I love the Garden of Eden. And I'm going to speak about the garden now. Because the garden was the place assigned by God as a living room, as a sphere of life for Adam and Eve. And also, it was a place of encounter, a place of meeting. So, first of all, we read, God the Eternal took man and placed it in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and to keep it. it's very interesting. Adam and Eve, they had the responsibility to keep it, to protect it, and to cultivate it, right? So, I'm going to speak more about this garden now. First of all, has any of you ever traveled to the Middle East or Northern Africa? Okay. If the Bible, like written 1000 before Christ or so, if they refer to a garden, what is it that the Bible means? Today in a garden we would hang our laundry to dry, or maybe we plant salad or tomatoes there, we grow tomatoes there. So what was the function, the meaning of a garden in ancient times? What would people do there? Let's start with something simple. Who would have a garden? Who would own a garden? Who would own a garden? Everybody? Right, the rich one. So, for example, this place here, this is in Egypt, in Luxor, middle of Egypt. There you have, it's coming? Yeah, it's coming there. Luxor is coming. It's on the Nile River. It's very hot there. You cannot even imagine how hot it is. It's like 38 degrees. It's super hot there. So, and in the middle of the desert there, you have this palace. It was Queen Hatshepsut's palace. And Queen Hatshepsut had in front of her palace a large garden. So, and the garden would have fountains and different plants and different animals. So, the first thing is a garden. What did she do in the garden?
She would walk around.
She would walk around, yeah. Alone or with others. Sometimes alone. The thing is, in a day like today, to sit in a small hut or in a room like that is not comfortable, right? So they would meet outside in a garden where it was a cool breeze. So in there she would welcome famous friends or business partners, maybe her lovers, I don't know. A garden in ancient times was not a place to dry your laundry, but it was a place of encounter. Encounter means a place to meet, a meeting place. And this is what happened in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve met, God and man met. It was a meeting space. And then the second thing, of course, I ask you who would have a garden. Of course, only the rich people. A garden back then was something that we today would call maybe a park or so. This is in Italy. It was basically a very, very wastefully rich, a luxurious place. And actually, Eden in Hebrew even means, or one possible translation is beauty. So a garden was not like today, just a small square piece of lawn. It was a very luxurious and beautiful place. So, beautiful. And I found it interesting that God didn't place Adam and Eve, let's say, in a manufactory, or in a farm, or on a highway, in a gas station, but in a garden. A garden basically is a place nobody needs. You don't need a garden. A garden is not a place where you work. It's basically, why do people have gardens?
It's nice.
Yeah, because it's nice. What can you do with a garden? It's not a field. I'm not talking about a plantation, a garden. Exactly, you just enjoy it. I mean, nobody really needs it, but it's just beautiful. I call it useless. Of course, it's not useless. But what I mean by that is, it's not only for one use. It's not. You sit in the garden for 30 minutes and now back to work. No, it's a place where you can just be. See, if the Bible says something, it's never a coincidence. It's always rich in meaning. Right? I learned the first thing with beauty. Have you realized that this world is filled with beauty to an almost incredible degree? If I would ask you what is the most beautiful, I did the same thing last year, so please forgive me if you have a repetition there, but if I ask you, what is the most beautiful flower? Is this flower more beautiful or a rose? I ask you something else. What is the most ugly flower? What is the ugliest sunset you've ever seen? But there are no ugly sunsets. Which star is the ugliest? Up there. See, if you walk around in nature and you find something ugly, this means a human was there. Right? There's a plastic bottle. Or humans built something ugly there. If you see something beautiful, oftentimes God has created it. Ugly stuff, it's us who create ugly stuff. Human beings do. So nature is filled with beauty to an extent that is almost incredible. And human beings, this is a Japanese garden, human beings have always planted gardens to be as beautiful as possible. It says something that God would create Adam and Eve in a garden. So I'll try to paint a garden now. Different plants. And that God would say, Adam and Eve, your place of living is a garden. See, if you want to understand why an eagle has wings. Why does an eagle have wings? Because he's made to live in the air, right? Why does a fish have fins? Not because he's made to live in the water. If you want to understand the concept of fish, you need to understand the concept of water. If you want to understand the concept of human beings, you need to understand the concept of beauty. Because human beings were not created in a gas station, not in a manufactory, not in an army tank, but in a place of beauty. In a place of encounter, of community, and a place of just useless permission to be. Allowance to simply be. This place I call Eden. And of course, the Bible writes about it, how beautiful it was. And it was abundant. See, it was the lie of the snake that there was not enough. The truth is there was more than enough. The Bible speaks even about gold and about precious gems and about all sorts of beautiful and delightful and tasty fruits, and even of a fountain that flows out from Eden and waters everything around. And the only thing is, Adam and Eve, they had to guard it. The garden needs to be tended to be kept, needs to be protected. So the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Beauty, was in the Old Testament a place of meeting between God and man. But we're not living in Eden anymore. And we're not living in the Old Testament anymore. If God and human beings met in the Garden of Eden back then, question, where do God and you meet today? Where is the place of encounter in the New Testament? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's a trick question because there are more answers possible. Yeah? But one answer, I believe, is the most important one. When Jesus came, he did not come to build churches. Churches are beautiful. But he said in John 4, the Father is looking for worshippers who don't worship up on some mountains, but who worship in spirit and truth. And in 1 Ephesians 6, Paul says, the temple for your Holy Spirit, the temple where you go to meet Holy Spirit is your body. Isn't that interesting? Christianity gives extreme high value to the human body. It's not just your thought life or your emotions or your spirit. No, it's your body. It's your body. And we speak about Jesus living in our heart. I find it very interesting. Sometimes we have prayer evenings where we say, Jesus, please come into my heart. All right. And once he is in your heart, what do you do with him then? Once he's in your heart. So the mystics, the great prayerful persons of the church, they came up with a concept to say it was not just only the Garden of Eden, but there is something like the garden within. And they called it the inner garden. It's all throughout the mystical theology. The first one who really to say that so clearly was St. Augustine. Augustine said, I was searching for you, God, outside of myself, but never realized that you were more closer to me than I am myself. My most important topic about prayer this afternoon is learn to come to this inner place. You do not have to go around outside. Even more beautifully, Teresa of Avila says it. In the 1500s, Spanish mystics, she said, had I only learned earlier what a great king lives in my heart, I wouldn't have left him alone there so often. Again, she says, if I would have only known earlier that such a great king lives in my heart, I wouldn't have left him there alone so often. I have a good news and bad news for you. Good news is Jesus really is living in your inside. He's really there. Bad news, you are not there most of the times. God is in the here and now. He's right there, but you are somewhere else. You're not there. Most of the times you're outside yourself. When you say, Johannes, I'm not outside yourself, I'm right here. No, you're not. You're not. You're somewhere else. I found that absolutely shocking. Some years ago, I was with my wife traveling this beautiful fjord in Norway. Anybody ever been to Norway? It's magnificent. So we paid like €100 to go on that trip on the fjord. And I was outside there looking. I was so fascinated by this fjord. So when I came back to under deck, I realized that the other people who were also on the same ship, who had already also paid a lot of money to see the fjords, I took a video of that because I was intrigued to watch them.
This guy seriously is watching a movie.
So outside you had this, right? And inside, just continue with me. Inside, they are all on their phones. So outside, you have the fjord. You have the most beautiful things. I watch that all over. I travel a lot. I see people sitting on Palm Beach sunsets that are so beautiful, and they're on their phones, right? And this is a little bit the generation we are in. The thing is not to say how bad is social media and our media. No, but our capacity to be here and now is getting lower and lower. Right? God is in the here and now. He's not somewhere else. You just need to come back to him. But this starts with this blue line. And this blue line is a barrier. You need to draw. You need to draw a line to say, this is a free space of no distraction. See, if you are distracted with your phone, you will not see the beauty of the fjord. And if you are outside, walking around on the sorrows of life and what she's doing, what he's doing, and what I have to do, blah, 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 you don't come back to this place and you don't realize how beautiful this place is. Really, I love the fact I cannot convince you on a logical thing, because it's not a logical thing. But when Jesus came to set you free from your sin, he not only said, all right, you're not going to hell, you're going to heaven. He did something way more profound. He restored you on the inside, so that in your heart, you could say something like there is a paradise in your heart. Something like there is Eden 2.0 in your heart. There is a place of delight in your heart where God wants to spend time with you. If you would not always run away. And I have great news for you. If you spend time with him there is always a fountain of life. And this is, friends, I'm not talking any theology that I read in my book. This is my life reality. If I, for too many days, if I'm too busy, if I run around and I get busy, and I lose that inner contact with God, I can feel that my water of life is starting to drizzle, starting to get back. But all I need is to come back. He's already waiting. But I have the responsibility. Now just some remarks on the useless thing. It's okay to simply be there, right? If you spend time with God, you do not have to do a lot. You do not have to go through a prayer list. You don't even have to pray in a very holy way. And sometimes I'm not concentrated. Yeah, oftentimes I'm not concentrated either. I've been praying for 25 years or so every day. I'm not concentrated. Oftentimes I'm very not concentrated. But I'll tell you something, I still do it. I still come back day after day, day after day. If you only do that, if you have the blue circle to say, this is my holy time, this is my sacred space, this is for God only, you keep that, you keep other people from trampling on your holy ground. To say, no, sorry, this is my secret garden. This is my place with God. And this place is allowed to be beautiful. So you can fill it with whatever you find beautiful. If there's certain music you find beautiful, put in this music. If you need a strong coffee in order to not fall asleep, get yourself a strong coffee, that's all right. If a certain art form helps you, like writing in your diary or drawing something, or if a certain place helps you, like you can build your own little prayer place in your house, you have your Jesus picture, your candles, or whatever it is that you need, build your own little place. And this place and this time with God, on the long run, will sustain you. If you ask how it is to fill it, there is one Bible verse that I find very, very important and very helpful that I want to share with you, and then we open up for question and answers. And this is in Psalm 1. Psalm 1, again, there are many parts of the Bible who speak about that word picture of the garden or of the plantation. The same, Jesus, John 15, abide in me, stay in me, and I in you, and you will bear much fruit. Very similar as Psalm 1. Psalm 1 pictures a tree that is planted by the streams of living water. So you have a tree, and the tree is planted near the streams of living water, which is a very good thing, and whose leaves are always green, right? So the tree always has enough water. He's planted near the streams of living water. And then we read about this tree that it bears fruit. Actually, who of you is French? Okay, so I read it in English. So, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, does not follow the path of the sinners, but rejoices in the law of the Lord, you could also say, who rejoices in the word of God and meditates about the word of God day and night. He is like a tree planted close to rivers of living water. Whatever he does, he will be successful. He will bear fruits in his season, and his leaves will never wither. So, I would love to live a life like that, and I believe Christian prayer life is that. First of all, the tree does not come to the river on vacation once a year. Like we say something, I need to go to the conference to be refreshed and then I come back. No, the tree is planted there, and this has to do with structure and time and place. So, this tree has a structure, has a root system. He's actually rooted in the soil. This is one precise place, and he's there over a longer period of time. Your spiritual life needs a structure, and structure has to do with time and space. So, if I ask you, how does your spiritual life look like? What does your spiritual life look like? And you tell me something like, I have Jesus in my heart, and sometimes I feel him, sometimes I don't feel him. This sounds to me like, if you ask me, Johannes, how is your sports life? And I tell you, my whole thinking, my way of thinking is full of sports. You said, all right, but how do you actually do sports? Well, my mentality is deep into sports. And whenever I feel like it, I do one push-up. Right? How strong will I become in sports? Yeah, not really. But this is how we talk about the spiritual life? See, if my answer is, I go to the fitness studio 3 times a week, it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's from 6 to 7, this sounds like a plan. Yeah, I say, every second day I go running, yeah, this sounds like a plan. Right? Your spiritual life is the same. You need a structure for your personal prayer life. So, it is like a tree planted by the streams. But now, if you think, all right, structure, this sounds like stress. This sounds like workout. Good news, it starts with the word Ashrei ha'ish, asher lo. In Hebrew, Ashrei means happy. The foundation, heureux, happy. The foundation of the first word in the book of Psalms, of the prayer book in the Bible per se, the first word of the spiritual life for Christians is happiness. So, I have very good news for you. You don't have to pray. You can go to heaven without prayer. You can be saved without prayer. You don't have to prove that you are a strong Christian for God to be impressed now. See, God is surrounded by millions of angels, right? He's not so impressed if you say, I gotta pray for 30 minutes. And God says, oh wow, I never thought that this is possible. He's created the universe. He's created the universe. He does not need your help anyways. Right? So if you pray, you never pray in order to please God, otherwise he's angry. There is one reason, and the reason is, why do I pray? Well, why do I watch sunsets? Because they are beautiful. Why do I love a good bottle of wine, or a good glass maybe, a good glass of wine, or a good meal? Why do I kiss my wife? Why do I love flowers? Because it's beautiful. And I told you that nature is filled with beauty because God is an artist. He is beautiful. So the foundation of prayer is always joy. It's joy-based. This, my friend, is so important. It's so important. Because maybe in your everyday life, you will feel this pressure. Maybe you're from a Christian background and you have this in your ear, like you have to be a good Christian. Yeah, no, I should pray more. I never pray enough. I should pray more. I never pray enough. If this is your foundation, I'd rather say don't pray. Please do us all a favor. Don't pray. Honestly, see, if I come back to my wife and I'd find in her room a small self-reminder, a post-it to say, don't forget to kiss Johannes at least 5 times a day, otherwise he's pissed off. How much will I enjoy the next kiss? Right? Or if she would send a text message to her friend, oh, tonight I have to go to this stupid romantic dinner with Johannes. I don't like it at all, but it's my duty as a wife, so I might as well go. You know what? I don't want her to kiss me. I don't want to get on a date with her. Guess what? Maybe it's the same thing with God. He doesn't need your help. He doesn't need your religious program. He wants community with you, right? And honestly, how do you want to live? Do you want to live bored, distracted, burned out, and sad and depressed? Yeah, fine, you can choose that. Or do you want to live at the source of life, filled with love, filled with joy? You can live like that, but the latter you only get with Jesus. So your foundation of prayer, please, let it never be I have to pray, I have to pray. Let it always be God is good and He desires you. You know what? He desires you more than you desire Him. Sometimes your love for Him is not so impressive. Honestly, my love for Him oftentimes is not so impressive. But over the years, His love to me proved pretty impressive. Because He's really good. He's not angry. He's really not in a bad mood. He's really good. And joy is the foundation for the whole universe. Nobody needs galaxies. Nobody. Nobody needs zebras and giraffes. With pandas, I'm not so sure, because I think they are definitely important. They are necessary, but I'm not, right? The universe would perfectly work without me, maybe even better, right? So I was only created by God because He enjoyed me. Right? God does not need you at all. Universe works perfectly fine without you. So now maybe you say, well, if God doesn't need me, I feel useless. I'm not necessary. Yeah, partially true. But I have good news for you. You ladies know that better than us guys. Sometimes the stuff we don't need, we love it the most, right? Right? You find something in a shop, you know you don't need it, but still you want to buy it, right? Because it's just so beautiful, right? And us guys, we buy other stuff we don't need, right? Yeah, you girls, you maybe buy beautiful clothing, or come on, shoes. Who needs 25 pairs of shoes? I need to be silent there because I have more shoes than my wife has. But like, sometimes the stuff we don't need is the stuff we enjoy the most, isn't it like that? And this is what you are, right? You are a category of luxury product. Nobody needs you. The universe works perfectly fine without you, but still God created you. Yeah, that's about it. Like, He was up there in heaven, He was sketching you, He was making the design for you, your nose, your teeth, everything. And I imagine it to be like that. An angel peeked over God's shoulder to say, what are you creating, God? He said, a human being. Oh, another one, yeah. We already have 8.4 billion, but all right. So you really believe you need that one more? And God said, you got me on that one. You're right, I don't need her at all. But look how cute! I just need to create her. And there you came. Right? The angels probably voted against you, but God said, I just want to create that funny dude. Right? And that's true. The truth is you will never match up, you will never own, you will never earn your permission to existence. It's not like you have to cash in enough good deeds so for your existence finally to pay off. It will never pay off. It's all a free, crazy, wonderful gift. Totally undeserved. And if you would just lay in your bed for the rest of your life because you are, I don't know, paralyzed from head downwards, and maybe you curse God and you don't pray a single second, God would not love you any degree less, and your life would not be anything of less worth than right now. Because your worth as a being is merely grounded on the free will of your Creator just to want you, just to create you. Therefore, kick out that religious nonsense that you have to earn something in prayer. It's like I don't earn anything if I kiss my wife. It's a free overflow, it's joy-based. And whenever, this lie is ticking on your head, now you cannot come to God. Yeah, your last 4 days, they were so bad, I watched what you watched yesterday evening on Netflix. I watched you, right? And now you better hide. Right, this is the voice that spoke to Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve hid. Well, I find it fascinating. God is never hiding, just us humans are. So God is starting to search for Adam. Adam, where are you? God is right here. He's right now. But we are hiding in our shame, in our distraction, our running around. God is right here. God has no problem with having contact with Adam even after they have sinned. And I'm not interested what you watched yesterday evening. Probably you watched nothing because there is no internet. But okay. See, if you fall into sin, if your life is messed up, if your last week was bad, don't run away from the healer, run towards the healer. It's always good, right? If you go to the doctor, he says, what's wrong? He says, all is fine. No, that's the doctor. He's supposed to know, right? He has not a problem. He doesn't expect you to tell him that you're all right. So it's the same with God. Just tell him what's wrong. That's absolutely okay with him. Prayer life needs to be joy-based. You need a structure in time and place. And I love the fact what it says about the tree, that the tree will bear fruit. Just one last thing about the way how that spiritual life in Psalm 1 looks like. So it's a daily rhythm, structure in time and place. It's joy-based. And no matter what you do, we read it's the guy who trouve son plaisir dans la loi de l'Éternel et qui la médite jour et nuit. So he delights in the law of God and meditates on it day and night. However it is that you pray, it's not so important how you pray. The form of prayer is not so important. It's just one thing. Add a little bit of the Bible. Because the Bible draws you out of your thoughts carousel. So even if you do worship, you do singing, or whatever it is that you do, read one chapter of the Bible and combine the Bible with talking to God. One last thing about the time and place, because now I feel like you really like me now, so I can burn some sympathies with one thing that everybody hates, but just add some realism. Talking about the difficult question, how long per day am I supposed to pray? Now, I just told you don't have to pray at all, right? I'm just telling you whatever you do with your time will do something with your heart. Where your treasure is, your heart will also be. And your most precious thing, your most precious treasure is your time. Whatever you do with your time will have an effect on your heart. If I tell my kids, oh kids, I love you so much, I might as well spend 1 hour with you per year. Maybe my feeling of love is authentic, but our relationship will not grow, right? So yes, the depth of your prayer life does have something to do with the length of your prayer times. It does. So let's talk about it. First of all, let's talk about how much time we have. I give you a beautiful number that I like very much. Most people don't know it even. What is this number? 168? Any idea? Exactly. Number of hours in a week. So if somebody tells you, you know what, I'd love to pray, but I have no time. You can tell him, yeah, we all have the same amount of time. We all have 168 hours per week. you always had and always will have. And no weeks are shorter. The question is just what do you use the weeks for? So let's see what we use a normal week for. I'm talking from German background. Maybe there are some difference. I don't know. So the average hour in Germany of work is 40 hours. The average hour of sleep in Germany is 7.5 hours per night, 7.5 hours. Let's do 8 hours. 8 times 7 is 56. Is this right?
Yeah.
Right. So we sleep for 56 hours. Right. So you need time to get to work and back. In Germany, the average is 30 minutes one direction. Could be more, could be less. It's not so important. It's 5 work days, so it's 5 hours of traveling. So it's eating, let's say, eating and preparation of food, 2 hours, something like that. Probably the French take longer than the Germans. So let's do 2 hours, it's 14 hours. Now let's say you don't just want to sleep and eat and work, but let's say you also want to work out. Let's say you do 4 hours of sports per week, which is already very good. And let's say you're also a real family guy. Maybe you're married or you have kids. So you do 1 hour of family time every day, which is a lot. It'd be 7. And I would say life is not only that, also once in a week I want to go out, have time with my friends or do a hobby or whatever, just for 3 hours. We could add and different things. There's no shopping yet, and there are some different things. But I'm just eating, sleeping, friends, sports. Bathroom. Let's say, guys or girls. That's the question. Let's go for 1 hour a day, which is a lot. 7. So, who's good in math? I'm not. I'm really bad. Just the blue ones. $130. I believe you. So, 132. Now, the thing is, I'm not trying to tell you stop sleeping. I'm not trying to tell you stop working. I'm just asking you, where are these 36 hours? Because 36 hours is a lot. So, and then I say, but this is cheating because I have this and I have this. Yeah, I know. Some people have this and this, but not everybody spends 7 hours with the family every week. Not everybody has 5 hours of sports every week. Not everybody has 1 hour to travel to work per day, and so on and so forth. So basically, to say I have no time is a complete lie. The answer is, the question is, what are you using your time for? 36 hours it's a lot. There is one trick in this calculation, which is I'm treating all 7 days equally. And of course, on weekends we have more times than on amongst the week. But still, basically, if you just see that, basically you have 168 hours. It's your free choice how to use those hours. If I would tell you, you could easily pray 1 hour per day. Probably most of you would be shocked. Say 1 hour, it's a lot. Yeah, that would be 7 here. You still have 31 hours, 29 hours free. That would be 1 hour per day. So I'm a little bit strong on that point, because in the last month I've befriended some, as I told you at the morning, some non-Christian spiritual guys, like coming from the yoga and the esoteric thing. For yoga people, it's very normal to do 2, 3, or 4 days of meditation every day. I know a Buddhist guy who does 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening of meditation every day. If you go to a Christian festival today, you do 4 hours of prayer today, they would say you're part of a cult, you're part of an evil group. Or I'm not saying that you have to pray for 4 hours. I'm not saying that at all. But if somebody would tell you, I'm really training to cycle over the Alps next year, and I train for 2 hours every day. Everybody's going to say, wow, that's cool. 2 hours a day. Right? Somebody tell you, you go back from this meeting, go tell your parents, I'm going to pray for 2 hours a day. They probably call the psychologist or like, this guy's in danger. Right? But it just shows how we value things differently. See, just a personal testimony, when I was 16, I fell so in love with Jesus that I just wanted more of him. So, and I had a very, very positive thing. The positive thing is I didn't have a Christian group, right? So I had to find it out for myself. And I stumbled in the Bible, I stumbled across the topic of tithing. Do you know what that is? Giving 10%. Tithing.
Yep.
So you give 10% of your money. And I thought, I don't know how long it's normal to pray, but maybe that tithing thing applies to time as well. So I decided to give 10% of my time to God, which is 2 hours and 24 minutes per day. 10%. So I had 2 hours and 24 minutes of prayer time every day when I was 16. So, and what happened is, over the course of 1 or 2 years, just my heart began to burn for Jesus. I had the best time of my life. And 1 or 2 years later, I came into a Christian youth group. And I asked the first guy, how do you organize your spiritual life? And the guy gave me that look. And I honestly, I thought he's maybe too humble to speak about it. Because he's so deep in his prayer. I was so naive. And it took me 1 or 2 years more to find out that in my Christian youth group, nobody had a prayer life. And now I've been preaching and teaching all across the world for over 20 years, and I'm still not over that shock that most Christians don't have a spiritual life. And then they complain why they don't feel God, and why life is so bad, and they feel burnt out. I don't want to point the fingers, because it's not about guilt. Nobody has to pray. But you will eventually reap what you have sown over the years. So the thing is, the tree does not come on vacation for one day. But he's been planted at the river for many years, and therefore he bears much fruit in its season. Also, I love the fact with the season part. First of all, I love the fact, qui donne son fruit. So the tree bears its fruit. This is so relieving. I have good news for you. You don't have to bear all fruits, only yours. Right? The apple tree doesn't go to the therapist to say there's something wrong with me. All my friends, they bring forth banana. I always only those round ones. There's something wrong with me. Can you heal me? An apple tree is meant to bring apples, and you are allowed to bring your own fruit. It's even yours. It even tastes like you. I love that fact. You don't have to compare, and it's your fruit in your season. So sometimes it might look like there's nothing coming out right now. Yet there are seasons in your prayer life that might look like that. But fruit will come. There is winter. There is spring. There is not always summer, not always time for the harvest, but eventually fruit will come. And this is my personal testimony. Over those years, basically over the last 25 years, I try to spend more than 2 hours per day with the Lord. My normal day, if I want to feel well, I go for 4 hours a day. This is my normal life over the years. And my testimony is, if I spend long enough on this garden, water will come. Ideas will come, new projects will come, inspiration will come, energy will come. And if I don't do that, if I leave that place, I'm like the farmer with the goose. I finish with that story. You know that story? No, you don't. You have to hear it. So there was a very famous farmer, and one day he got a goose that every day laid a golden egg. Every day it gave a golden egg. So the farmer became pretty wealthy. So he said, wow, that's cool. I have a golden egg every single day. But then he became nervous, and he told himself, wow, all those golden eggs, they need to be somewhere there inside the goose. and always waiting for one more day to get another egg. So he thought to himself, I could as well open this goose, and he took a knife and he opened up the goose to get out all the eggs at once. Well, what he got is this. But he lost the goose. You have a goose that gives you a golden egg every single day. This is your prayer life. You take care for this little garden. You water it. You don't allow everybody to trample on it. If you enter it, you switch off your phone. You close your doors. No, I'm not available for this 1 hour. I am not. This is sacred. And then you do whatever you want to do with your God. It's joy-based. You don't have to. It's beauty. It's useless. You don't have to prove anything. It doesn't have to come something out. It's just you enjoy God, you drink your coffee, and He enjoys you. And the only thing that you need is you do it every single day, a certain time and space. It's joy-based. And you add the Bible. And I guarantee you, your life will be filled with a golden egg every day. Every day. Every day. If you go into a rush and you get nervous, you say, I'm too busy to pray, then you are too busy to be successful. At the end of the day, you are called to live a life like Mary of Bethany. I love that story very much, who took the most precious thing that she had, this precious oil, which was worth hundreds of euro, and poured it over Jesus' feet. You know, the most expensive thing that you have today is time. We even say time is money. Therefore, the most valuable companies in the world is Google, is Amazon, is Microsoft. You know what they sell? They don't sell oil, they don't sell weapons, they don't sell stuff. They sell your attention span. Facebook does, Meta does. The more time you spend on this media, the more money they get. Time is money. If you take the most precious thing that you have, which is your attention span, which is your time, and you use it just to be with Jesus, there is a fragrance, like a perfume coming out, there is fruit coming out, and there is even water flowing out. That's how you take care for your inner garden. So this was less practical than I was planned to, therefore I'm going to open up for questions right now. But this gives you a basic idea how to live your spiritual life over the course of many years. And I love it. So, thank you.